Native Cincinnatian's taste for adventure took him to the deep depths of the sea, where he actually struck gold. Moeller High School grad Brent Brisben and his team found more than $4 million in treasures, $4.5 million to be exact. And he joins us now to talk about his journey and a new documentary that takes us through the entire thing. First of all, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
And did you bring me some birthday presents?
I did, yeah. They look good on you.
So tell me about this. I mean, this is incredible. This stuff is, I mean, how old is this, what I'm looking at here?
It's 300 years old. Wow. It's of Spanish origin. It was on its way from South America, ultimately back to Spain, theoretically. A fleet of 11 Spanish galleons departed Havana, Cuba on July 24th. 7 days later, in the year 1715, they're sailing along the east coast of Florida, hit by a hurricane, and all 11 ships were lost, loaded with this treasure.
And so this never happens, first of all. People will talk about finding treasure, and you actually did. So tell me about the documentary and what we're going to be seeing in this documentary, the story.
It's a really interesting show. It chronicles everything from what was going on in the world 300 years ago when these ships set sail. It talks a little bit about what the survivors went through on the beaches, and then it comes through to modern times, and it shows how these wrecks were first discovered in the late 50s and early 60s, and takes us right up through last year, which was the 300th anniversary when we found all that gold that you mentioned earlier.
So tell me about the treasure, where it was coming from and where it was going to and why.
It was assembled in many different ports in South America. The coin you hold right there was made in Lima, Peru.
Wow.
Some of the coins come from Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City. All of these different vessels reconvened in Havana, Cuba. They reprovisioned their vessels for the trip back to Spain, and so then they set sail as 11 ships to head back to Spain, but unfortunately they didn't make it past Florida.
They didn't make it past, and this is just a portion of the treasure, correct?
Correct, yes. You know, we estimate that there's still potentially $400 million worth of treasure left out there on the bottom of the Atlantic. We do our best to bring as much up every summer as we can.
I bet you do.
And yeah, and last summer it was miraculous. So this special that airs on Sunday, you know, chronicles all of that and then shows our incredible find.
So people ask you all the time, do you get to keep this stuff, or what happens now?
I do, yes.
You do.
My father and I, we own the company, and we own the vessel which found it all, and we have a contractual obligation to the state of Florida. They're entitled to up to 20% of the artifacts that we recover, and then we get to keep the rest, and now our crew and different people have an interest in that. But for the most part, yeah, it belongs to me and my father.
That's better than hitting the lottery when you think about it, because you're finding a little piece of history on top of it, and this stuff is still intact. I mean, it's incredibly preserved.
It is. The gold is such a pure and precious mineral. Nothing corrodes it. So it comes out of the ocean looking like the day it was made. And so when you see that down there and that sunlight hits it, it's a breathtaking moment.
So do you have to travel around with like security guards every time you
When we announced all this in New York last year, I took over $1 million worth of treasure, and I did have a security guard with me. But here in town, you know, I feel comfortable at home.
All right, well, I'm going to rub on this, and maybe I can hit the lottery the next time. I'll get some luck. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, the Lost Treasure Fleet will actually air right here on 9 on Your Side on Sunday, August 14th at 5 o'clock. Very excited to see this documentary.
Thanks for having me.
Very exciting. Thank you so much for joining us.
Nice to see you.
All right, folks, we'll be right back.